All right, welcome back to another episode of Run Mountain Peaks. This is my Jordan Flu Game podcast. This is my flu game podcast. I got sick earlier this week, been battling through it, starting to feel better. But yeah, getting sick is never fun. I just crushed an herbal tea, Advil Dayquil, so I feel like I'm coming around. I'm in good spirits right now. And speaking of, so the first podcast topic today is training through sickness, training around sickness. What do you do when you get sick? I feel like I've had I've been sick lots of times during training, during different parts of a training block. I've trained through it, I've not trained through it, and I'll just give you my thoughts on the best way to get through it. Next up, we're going to talk about risk in the mountains. So Washington has had 3 feet of snow, I think, this month. It's starting to get winter up in the mountains. Last weekend, I did a hike, and it was cold up top. I mean, below freezing wind chills, icy, snowy, and I'll probably talk about this a handful of times through the winter, but I wanted to discuss just overall risk in the mountains during the winter with more severe weather. We'll follow that up with a missing tent story on Mount Madison, which kind of got a lot of buzz in the last couple weeks. Next up, we're going to talk about rehabbing knee injuries. This is a question I got recently. Shout out Jack. And so I'll go through rehabbing knee injuries, what I've done in the past, whether that be like a knee sprain, runner's knee, just tendonitis in your knees, like after an ultra. I've had that before, just doing too much mileage. So I have a few little tips and tricks. I'll talk about that. Next up, maximizing speed workouts. So there's a few items I want to touch on quick. 1 being nose strips, 2 being ice, 3 being caffeine. I think those are like the staples. So I'll discuss each of those. Next, we're going to do a little quick breakdown preview of the Mount Ascutney Backyard Ultra that's coming up soon. We've talked about some backyard ultras before, and this one's a little bit unique. So instead of doing 4 miles per hour every hour, you basically do a lap with a certain amount of vertical gain every hour. And there's actually 2 different loops that you can do for this backyard ultra. So we'll do a quick preview, and there are some crushers on the entrance list right now. So it should be an exciting event, and we'll just go through that quick. Next, we'll do a motivational minute. So I got a quote, throwing a little motivation towards the end. I did a few of these earlier, and we're bringing back the motivational minute. I'll try to keep doing these each episode. And then lastly, I'm going to discuss my 2025 victory over the fruit flies. I live in an older apartment complex, an older building, like an old brick building, and there are some cracks in it, and bugs get in, and I battled a few different species, but I wanted to talk about the fruit flies from this year. We'll save it. We'll save the rest of it for that segment. So that's what we have today, and this is podcast number 10. That is kind of crazy. I mean, these are flying by. I've been having fun doing them. I think some people are at least enjoying them, and if you guys keep listening, I will keep doing these podcasts. So we're at podcast number 10, which is exciting, and with that, I want to share some exciting news. We're gonna welcome in our first sponsor to the podcast, guys. I am not gonna promote any product, anything that I don't believe in, that I don't use, and I'm excited to announce the first. So this episode is going to be sponsored, the first sponsor of the Run Mountain Peaks podcast, by Hill Strides. Guys, if you are not doing your hill strides, 6 to 8 hill strides 2 to 3 times a week, if you're not doing that, you're leaving gains on the table. You're basically saying, I don't want to get faster. I've talked about hill strides before. Everyone should be doing their hill strides at least a couple times a week. Oh, you thought I had a real sponsor? I will never sell out. I will sell out. I'll never sell out. I will sell out. For those of you who don't know, hill strides, it's just like a running workout. It's not like a brand or a product or anything. We have no sponsors in this podcast. We're raw dogging it. And, so there we go. Episode 10, sponsored by Hill Strides. Now back to the episode. Okay. All right. Topic number 1, training through sickness. So this is going to be like a training through sickness and just like overall running, like thoughts on like how to improve as a runner. So everyone has different goals with running. Some people have races that they want to finish. Some people have like lots of races they want to finish. Some people have times that they want to do. And so everyone's going to have their different priorities in running. But for me, if you are prioritizing like getting faster, like for me personally, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get faster and stronger. I have lots of things I want to do, but overall, like I want to develop as a runner. If that is your goal, the way you do that, like basically like run training is stressing the body, running, and then recovering, like your body is recovering. And that's like a lot of what run training is. It's not like these other sports like basketball, football, baseball, where you're like learning skills. Like those people have to be fast, strong, powerful, but there's a lot of skill and strategy involved. Running, a lot of it is just like your physiology, your fitness, like how fit are you, along with race day strategies, nutrition, training structure, stuff like this. But a lot of it is just fitness. And like, how do you get fitness? How do you get stronger? You train, you overwork your body breaks down, and then you have to recover and rest from it. And so, yeah, it's this stressing your body and then recovering from it. That's like what you want to do. And if you're overstressing your body, it results in injury, sickness, and you're just going to have to take downtime at training, and that is not going to give you long-term success. So there are some people when they're training, like the Goggins mentality, like he's obviously super famous, and there's a ton of people that are like just going to train through anything, train 7 days a week. And I think that kind of training, that is not optimizing getting faster and getting stronger like as a runner. Now, I will say that is definitely and Goggins even says this, like he's not training to be the best. He's training his mind. He is like training his mental capacity, and that is like so crushing miles and crushing training is a separate thing from optimizing your fitness. That is like a mental training, which I think is really important. There are times where I definitely need to train my mind. I've learned doing these ultras and doing these hard races that you actually, mental toughness and grit is you have to train it. It's not just like a flip that can switch on. And so there is like that aspect of the training. But when you're training to get faster, you can't just, like, rest days are important, recovery is important. And so you have to really optimize that training. And so when you get sick, right, there are some people who will say, no rest days, I don't care if I'm sick, I'm still going to get out and get after it. And what I've learned over the years, if you get sick and you just train through it, like you don't make any modifications to your training, it's going to just set you back like a week or two. And so for me, if you get sick when you're training, you got to take a little bit of downtime and let your body recover. Because when you get sick, your body's already like totally stressed out. So if you add training on top of it, it's just going to be more stress, and you're not going to be basically doing any training that is beneficial. So it's just not productive training. And so that's just like something you have to think about. One, just like training in general, overtraining is definitely a thing, and you have to think about it. And then when you get sick, doing too much is just going to set you back. And I guess on the overtraining and the sickness part, a lot of people, and there's a lot of people like what I'm saying, like you don't want to overtrain. I think, yes, overtraining is a thing, but also like under recovering is a thing. You can probably train more than you think you can if you are getting 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep every night, eating the right food, stress outside of training is low. I think there's a lot of under recovery, and sometimes you're just being a baby and you're not training enough. Like, oh, I'm kind of tired, when if you just had a little snack and you went out and trained, you wouldn't feel that tired. So it's a balancing act. There is overtraining, there is undertraining, and you really want to shoot for that middle zone. And when it comes to sickness, I think the same thing applies. So when I get sick, like usually, I don't know, sometimes you get stuffy, sometimes you have a scratchy throat or whatever, but like I treat sickness as like you have like you're getting a little bit of a feverish, like your body's fighting something off, your throat's very inflamed, super congested, that kind of thing. Just like a little cough, a little runny nose, that's something you can kind of train through. But when I get sick, when I get like feverish, really feeling not good, I immediately will take a rest day. And it's always hard when you get sick because, one, it is never going to come at a good time. It's always if you're in the middle of a training block and you're like, oh, this is going to ruin whatever. Before races, it's going to ruin my race. Oh, I was going to recover this week, but now like I didn't do, it never happens at a good time. And so you just have to, like, I think that's part of mentality. Like, you have to accept the fact, like, I am sick, and the only way to get through this the fastest I can is to take care of myself. So as soon as I get sick, take a rest day. I feel like most sicknesses, like, I don't get super sick a lot, knock on wood, but usually you have like a day or two that's the worst, and then you kind of slowly feel better. So if you're getting worse or you're really feeling feverish, I always will just take complete days off. If it's 2 days in a row, that kind of stinks. If it's 3 days in a row, that kind of stinks, but you have to do it. Rest, sleep a lot, eat good food. Like that's all you can do. Go to the doctor, see what they say. So I think that's like the first strategy, shut it down. The way that I train is I always take a rest day every week. So if you get sick, the first day, boom, it's just my rest day for the week. I haven't missed any training. Cool. The second day, okay, if you have to take 2 days off, all right, this is an unplanned rest day, which you always try to avoid, but you got to do it. After that, you really are going to try to like find that balance of I need to start training a little bit, but I don't want to overdo it. It's kind of like when you have an injury. You want to start training, but if you're making it worse, not good. If it's getting a little bit better and you can start training a little bit, that's kind of how you want to do it. So the first day that I'm feeling a little bit better, I'm going to go do some half hour, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour if I'm really feeling better, of some super easy training. And whatever I want to do is I want to do like the least stress on my body outside of that hour of training or whatever I'm trying to do. So if it's like super cold, if it's snowy, if it's icy outside, like that cold is just going to stress your body more, don't do it. Hit a treadmill, go super slow, just get the heart rate up a little bit, and try to just get the body moving again. And sometimes that helps with sickness. As long as you don't overdo it, kind of working your body, getting your heart going, getting your breathing going can kind of help almost a little bit. I think one of the best ways to get over a sickness is sweat it out a little bit and try to give it to somebody else. I don't know. That's a joke. I don't know. Is that a bad thing to say? Like trying to give? Not really, but kind of get out, do something, but do it super light. And then the next day, if you're still like feeling a little bit better the next day, you're like, all right, that is my new baseline. I can train a little bit. That's what I'm going to do. And then just kind of build up from there your training. And eventually, it's just like an injury. As you get better, as you feel better, ramp up your training back to normal. And hopefully, like you miss like a week of training. And if you take 2 or 3 rest days, maybe the next week you don't do your rest day. So you train through. Like for me, I took off like 3 days in the middle of this week. So basically my Monday rest day earlier this week is one of the days that I took off. And then like this upcoming Monday, so today's Sunday, so tomorrow, I'm just going to train through it and not take my rest day. So really I only miss like 1 day of training. So you're not going to miss like a ton. And so that's kind of like how I deal with it. I've trained through stuff and then you're just sick for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then you just feel bad. When you're training and your body is sick, like you're also recovering from an illness, you're not going to absorb training, you're not going to get better. So you're just kind of like wasting your time. If you take a whole week off and you're really overdoing it and like being a little bit of a baby, like I need to make sure I'm feeling perfect. Then when you get back, it's been so long that you actually are sucking wind on that first, run. You feel horrible. Your legs are like jello. Like that's what you want to avoid. So it's finding that sweet spot. And then the other thing that I think is very important, so easing back into it, is getting back your speed work and or strength work as quick as you can. So if you're feeling ill, if you're not feeling 100%, keep everything easy run, maybe into the moderate if you're trying to ramp back up. But don't do any hard workouts. But as soon as you feel like 95%, try to hit some speed work, because the longer you delay doing speed work, the harder it is going to be to keep do it again and get back to where you were. So for me, if your sickness times perfectly where you just get sick after your speed work and you can recover by the next week, I would try to do speed work the next week and do some sort of easier speed work depending on where you are in your build. Like if you're doing hard tempos or VO2 max style workouts, maybe don't do that. Your first speed work, come back and just do 1 minute on, 1 minute off. That's my sweet spot as a workout that I use when I am coming back from something or building back up. 1 minute on, 1 minute off. You get the heart rate up, but it's not very, very hard. You get a minute rest every other minute. Do that for a week and then get back to your regular training. And the next week you might be able to pick up where you left off. And there it's all right, I really didn't lose anything. I do the same speed work you did before you got sick. And if in 2 weeks you can just do the same workout, boom, you're right there. You didn't lose too much. Now, sometimes when you do that first hard workout after an injury, your heart rate is going to be a little bit higher, but that is actually not always a bad thing. I think everyone is always oh, I want to run the faster with a lower heart rate, which is ultimately the goal. But having a super low heart rate sometimes means that your body isn't ready for training. Maybe you've been training too much. Maybe your body's too stressed and your heart is actually not able to get very high, which is not always a good sign. So if your heart rate's a little bit high, that just means your legs haven't been training as much as usual, and your muscles can actually probably take more than they typically can. So don't freak out that your heart rate's really high that first hard workout back. Do the workout, and then the week after that, usually I'm back to normal, and you're all right, I'm back on track. So do one easy speed work to get back into it. Do a hard one. Don't be alarmed if your heart rate's a little bit high. And then after that, you should be smooth sailing and just continue with your build. And obviously, if you don't have a race coming up very fast, that's easier to be yeah, I missed a couple, or I kind of hovered around for a couple weeks, no big deal. But if you have a race, obviously that is a big deal. And so I have one more thought I'll share about sickness before a big effort. If you have a big effort, especially ultra marathons, you can only do a handful of big, hard efforts in a year if you're running long ultras, unless you're some sort of robot. And so your races you put a lot of time into your races. You can train a couple, 2, 3, 4 months plus for a big race. And think about all the time, the hours you put into that. Getting sick the week of is just gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching, whatever you want to say. It really stinks. And so for me, one of the strategies that I use you basically want to prevent any sort of sickness that week before a race. So for me, if I have a race 1 week, the weekend before, I am not doing any out in large setting, gathering atmospheres. I'm probably not going to go to a big get together. I'm not going to go out to eat with a bunch of people for no reason. I'm going to be very conscious about I am staying to myself. If anyone's sick, get away from me. I have put hours and hours and days into this build, going out on a weekend just for whatever, into a big bar and being close with a lot of people during flu season, whatever, in the fall. I'm just probably not going to do that. I think another one too is if you're traveling to a race, flying to a race, wearing a mask. I don't know the science about wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask. But just be conscious about do not get in people's personal space. Don't share drinks with stuff, all these things. Just be very cautious about okay, just don't get sick. And don't stress about it. Live your life, do your same routine, go to work, go to the gym, whatever you're used to doing. But, don't plan some crazy extravagant, getting no sleep, going out for a weekend the week before a race. I don't think that's any good. Some people take it as far as, they won't even eat out or get some sort of, takeout the week before race because they don't want to get food poisoning, which is like a different sickness. But there's definitely things you can do to like minimize your risk of getting sick before a race. And if you really care about the race and the effort, I would take all those precautions no matter how silly they may seem. So that was the sickness talk. If you get sick, not the end of the world, but you got to be conscious. And if you don't want to get back track, just take care of yourself. Okay, number 2, we're going to talk about risk in the mountains and the missing tent story. These kind of go together, but maybe they don't go together. But first, I'll just talk about risk in the mountains. So this winter, I'm going to go through like what I bring into the mountains during the winter, like, stuff that you bring in your pack, safety precautions that you take. I think trail runners in particular, they get a lot of comments from hikers like, oh, be safe. Oh, that's all you got, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'll go through that at a different point. But I wanted to just talk about like your risk when you go into the mountains. So I think anytime you go out into the woods, especially the mountains and big terrain, you're taking some sort of risk of whatever that may be. There's a risk associated with going out there, whether it be the conditions or getting hurt and like not being able to get yourself out. And so there's all different things that you can bring. You bring the 10 essentials, you can bring inReaches, you can bring buddies, like other people to come with you. And so there's all these different things we can bring. I won't get into that now, but I think the risk as far as like just being out there is something that you really should think about. So I went on a hike last weekend in the Belknaps. Love the Belknaps. We'll always shout out the Belknaps. It's like a smaller version of the White Mountains. There are some sections that are just as steep, just as technical, punchy, and they're way quieter than the Whites. If you haven't been to the Belknaps, go to the Belknaps. But I was there on a Sunday afternoon, and it was it was like in the 20s wind chill last weekend. Just raw. It was kind of rainy, sleety, just really raw out there. And I was thinking, like, in the Belknaps, they're smaller mountains. They're like I don't even know if they're 2,000 feet. Maybe some of them are. But not something that you would think about as being like pretty risky. But for me, when I was out there, I was thinking this is more risky than a lot of my time going out into the White Mountains. And here's why. If you go into the White Mountains on the weekends and you start before noon, no matter what time of year, with all the gritters and the 4,000 footer list people, and just hikers getting out who just love getting out, there are always going to be people out there with you. So if you do get hurt, there's always going to be people out there. Like, you never really are alone in the Whites if you're on a 4,000 footer on the weekend. Now, if you're just doing some like no-name trail in the middle of nowhere, like a lot of times you are alone. But when you're on trail with other people, I think your risk goes down like tenfold. There's going to be other people. You all have various sorts of gear and ways to get help or whatever. And so if you're nervous about getting out into the mountains, go on a 4,000 footer, go in the morning on a weekend, and you're going to be with people, and there's really nothing to worry about. Now, if you're out there, if you're the last person there, there are not any other cars, or there's one car and you pass that one person, and you're the last person on the mountain, that changes your risk so much because no one's coming up behind you to help you out if something happens. And so I think being aware of, are there other people out there, and am I alone, is a huge thing to think about when you're seeing risks. So when I was in the Belknaps, there was one other car. Get up to the top, didn't see anybody, and it's getting darker, probably like an hour and a half from dark. It's really, really cold. Like, I had some gear, but it's not like I have like a gear to stay out there all night. That is when your risk is the highest, and that's when you have to make the smartest decisions. Don't bomb down some crazy icy trail. Don't try something that I'm going to try to jump over this for no reason, like just because I'm trying to get fancy. This is when you have to make smart decisions. Because I think knowing your risk in the moment and then making smart decisions will save you from 90% of the issues you're going to face on trail. It's going to lower your risk injury. It's going to lower your injury of getting lost. Like, oh, I'm not going to do this trail. Like, I don't really know where it is on a day that, it's getting dark soon and it's really cold and there's no one else out here. Like, knowing those factors are something you should always be thinking about in your head. And so, yeah, that was just one thing I wanted to say. If you're getting out in the mountains this winter, just know it's getting really cold. If you get hurt in the mountains in the winter and you have to stay out there, a lot of the times you will get hypothermia if you have to stay out all night. So understanding when you're able to get help, if you are able to reach help, if you just have your phone, you don't have service, risk goes up. Understanding all these things and then like taking precautions is going to be very important. And so that's what I got to say about the mountains. Know who else is out there when you go out there, and just be safe this winter. Look at the forecast ahead of time. We'll do a deeper dive into like the 10 essentials and what I bring and kind of thoughts about that. But yeah, just understand when you're out there, your surroundings, what's going on around you really does matter and can help you. So that's the risk in the mountains talk. Next up, the missing tent story. I don't know the whole details of this, so I'm just going to do a high-level overview. But essentially, there was up on the Valleyway Trail near Madison Hut, there was like a camping platform or a place that you can camp, and there was a tent that was abandoned, had a bunch of stuff in it, had car keys in it, nobody was there, and presumably it was left there. And eventually the tent got reported, like, hey, there's a tent with nobody in it, there's car keys, we don't know where they went. The tent got taken down, and there have been no missing persons reports. And so it's kind of like this mystery, like, what has happened? Like, is this person missing? Are they not missing? Why are there car keys? There was no car that matched the car keys at the trailhead. And so it was kind of like a mystery. I think there's a bunch of theories, like, one, they could be missing, but nobody has reported them missing. So, like, the police said that they can't really, if no one's reported missing, like, they did a search for the person. They couldn't find anything. So, like, at this point, they're not going to search further if nobody is actually missing. There's a thought like, oh, somebody, didn't want to go back and they had a spare set of keys, so they just left and they left all their stuff up there. Or maybe that person was with somebody else, they left their stuff, and then they left with somebody else, like if they parked at different trailheads. So there's some theories. I honestly don't know. They all seem... Hi there. They all seem... That person had a Boston Marathon sweater on, so she seems like a BQer. Good for her. Yeah, all the theories seem a little bit strange. Like, why would somebody leave their keys and their stuff up there? Like, maybe some people just really don't care about their stuff that much, or they had a bad time camping and are like, screw it, I can't go back up there. Maybe they're really like out of shape or injured and they couldn't get back up there and they just bailed and they did have a spare set of keys. If they're missing, like, somebody, like, saying that nobody's missing, so not looking for a missing person, seems a little bit weird to me, because I'm like, I think there's lots of people that don't tell, even though it's not best practice, don't tell somebody, like, that they're going out in the mountains or going hiking. If you live alone or whatever, like, I live alone. Most of the stuff that I do, I just go, and I don't tell people the full plan, like, and I just go out there. So I don't know, like, what is my gut telling me? I think there's probably, like, an equal chance between all options. I think something weird is going on, though, and I think, like, if you have a car key, can you match a car key to, like, a vehicle VIN or something? I don't know. I wouldn't dismiss the whole thing, though. Like, I would definitely, and obviously, like, the police department sure isn't dismissing everything, but if it were me, it seems like there's still something weird that needs to be solved there, and that's my gut reaction. So that's kind of strange. Yeah, if by chance that person's listening to the podcast, a needle in 10,000 haystacks, hey, there's a bunch of people looking for your stuff. And yeah, that would help us all crack that code. But okay, that's enough about the risk in the tent. Next topic, rehabbing knee injuries. So, yeah, I've dealt with a handful of knee injuries over the years, and honestly, this is going to be a super in-depth talk. I think I just have a few tricks, but I do think they are extremely powerful. So I remember when I was first getting into running, I had runner's knee. And I think that's something like that you just, when you start running a lot, your tendons aren't used to the load, and they'll just get aggravated. And I think runner's knee is something that you can actually run through at like a decent amount. It's like the tendon below your kneecap is like flaring up, and that kind of hurts. And so when I had that runner's knee, I actually bought access to a program. I think it was the ATG. It was knees over toes guy knee rehab program. And this guy is like somebody who had chronic knee pain, and now he can do these like insane squats and put like thousands of pounds of pressure on his knee. He can dunk. He's very he's a good speaker. Like, he's very much like and he seems like he knows a ton about knee injuries. But his whole theory was like, all these doctors just want you to get surgeries, and like, none of these are really long-term fixes. And he dedicated his life to training. How can I strengthen my knee like to the maximum extent? So he's got a lot of good stuff. And so I bought that program, and I think a lot of things in that program are super helpful. I don't remember all of like the workouts, so I'm not going to list them all, but that's definitely like a good resource. And I'm sure if you go to Knees Over Toes Guy Instagram, there will be like most of the info that you need just on there, like in video form. But what I gathered from that program, the two things that I gathered that helped me the most, and one is like by far, I just would recommend this to everybody: walking uphill backwards or dragging a weighted sled backwards is so good for your knees. This is what I did for all of my knee injuries, and it's helped every single one of them pretty much go away. I don't really have knee issues, knock on wood. Like, I haven't had a ton of knee issues. If they do flare up, it's not something I can't work through. And so I do a combination of like those weighted sleds at the gym. Usually people like push them with the two poles. If you just have like a belt, usually they'll have them at the gym, tie it around your waist, hook it to the sled, and then just walk backwards for, I like to do like longer sessions, so like 5 to 10 minutes of just like walking backwards. I walk to one end of the gym, I unstrap it, I turn around, I walk the other side, and I just go back and forth for 5 to 10 minutes. You can do it as a warm-up, you can do it after done cardio or done weightlifting, and basically what it does is, I think training your knees is very hard because you get a lot of stress to your knees. It's all like cartilage, ligaments that are like hard to get blood flow to without putting a lot of pressure on them. But if you're walking backwards with a weighted sled, or the same thing as if you walk uphill backwards, you're putting pressure on your knee without loading that tendon. It's really loading your quads, but your knee is working, but in a much lower impact. And what I can actually, I can feel this when I do the workout. You can feel blood in a fallopian fluid or the fluid getting to your kneecap, and that's just going to promote healing. And so if you have any knee injury, whether it be a sprain, like tendonitis, runner's knee, I would do 5 to 10 minutes of this 3-ish times a week, and I would bet in a few weeks you will start feeling better. That would be my number one tip to anybody. That was like the biggest thing that I got from that ATG knee program. It's just a way to strengthen your knee without putting a lot of pressure on it. Because like when you're squatting, when you're running downhill, when you're doing all these different exercises for your legs, it's just a lot of pressure on the knee. And if your knee is tweaked, it's going to get worse. But this is like the one way where your knee is protected and you strengthen everything around it at a low impact cost. So that is like the number one thing. You can also, I think, like if you have a treadmill, like I don't know if this is good for the treadmill, but if you keep a treadmill turned off and you just walk backwards, there's also that like resistance. It does like the same thing. And I've seen a lot of people at the gym like walking backwards on treadmills. So I'm sure Knees Over Toes guy is still doing his thing. But I really recommend that. The other big thing that I got from that program, and this more helps with runner's knee, but I think this helps with shin splints. I think this helps with like any lower leg injury from running, is strengthening your soleus muscle is super important. It absorbs a ton of shock when you're training, and the stronger that muscle can be, the lower impact that's going to get to the rest of your leg. So I would just look into like, there's soleus calf raises. It's basically just keep your knee bent and do a calf raise. They're very effective. And the other thing too that I think, I don't know if this is like proven, but it's basically the same thing. You're strengthening your calf while your knee's bent. Running uphill, get your soleus faster. So run mountain peaks, guys. Let's go. Run mountain peaks. If you're running uphill, you're going to be strengthening your soleus, and I think that helps with knee issues as long as you don't overdo it. So shout out running uphill. So I would focus on those two things: walking backwards and strengthening your soleus. And then, like, the other thing, this could go for any general injury, is as you're progressing from an injury, do work, and as long as the injury isn't a 3 out of 10 or more of pain, like as long as it's like 3 or below, and the next day it's not getting worse, just progress your training like with that threshold. As soon as you hit that threshold, you got to back off, but just train up to that, and give it some time. And that's like the same thing with the sicknesses. Eventually, you got to take a little bit of time off to let it heal, but it's going to prevent you from like losing more training by just trying to train through it and making it worse. So that was the rehabbing knee injury stuff. Next topic, we have maximizing speed workouts. So this is something that honestly, this is going to be pretty quick. I just want to touch on one thing. So I use nose strips. I used to use nose strips every speed work. So once a week, on like a hard speed workout day, I'd always wear my nose strips. And recently, so the nose strips, I don't know if they're scientifically proven to like do anything. Like it probably has a 0.01% benefit, but when you wear a nose strip, like you can feel like your nose is a little bit more open. And like David Roach says, like if you can just get more oxygen, that's going to be good for you. It can't hurt. And they're super cheap, so why not use them? So that's one of the things that I always use for speed workouts. And I was using them recently. I don't know what brand I have, but every time I pull them off, now I've used them dozens of times before with no incidents. The last 2 times I've used them, I pull them off and I get this big bruise right here on my nose. And it looks very strange. Like it's very clear, like for a few days, like I have this big bruise on my nose that's like very defined, and I don't know, like people are looking at me like, oh, what's up with your nose? I don't know why this has been happening. I don't know if my nose strip has been like too skinny. I need to find a new nose strip, but that's kind of been aggravated me a little bit. So I need to test some new nose strips, but I don't know. I should have tried different nose strips before I came on the podcast and wasted your time about this. But yeah, if anyone has had that problem and has figured out how to solve it, let me know. I think maybe just like a wider nose strip, but I don't know. It's like you get like this little like bruise, like almost like a little hickey thing on your nose, and I don't like it. So now I'm like, do I want to wear a nose strip for a speed workout? I don't know. Is it worth that 0.0% whatever gain for a bruise on my nose all week? I don't know. So, but okay, yeah, nose strips for speed workouts. So I maybe should have done that after I did all of the things. But yeah, so when I do a speed workout, the way that I think about speed workouts is I am trying to basically strengthen my leg muscles. So if you're trying, for me, long distance stuff, I'm just trying to get aerobically more fit, my aerobic system. And when you do speed workout, you're producing lactate. You're not using your aerobic system. You're using your anaerobic system. And so the real goal of the speed workout is to strengthen my muscles. So I do anything I can to basically ease the stress on my body so that I can just destroy my leg muscles so they can kind of rebuild the next day. It's like run your easy runs easy and your harder runs harder. I try to make the speed workouts extremely hard, like as much as I can take. And so a few tips that I use every training session, it's probably just a couple, to maximize your output. One, like nose strips, like any little thing that's going to give you a little bit of gains. If it's not expensive, it doesn't cost money, I would just do it. So like nose strips, I wear like my short shorts. I only have a couple pairs of those, but I'll wear those because like it reduces drag just like a little bit. I wear a tank top so I'm like not not sweating or anything. do all of those things. Like if you have carbon plated shoes, wear those. Like wear your big shoes, wear your fast shoes. Do all of these little things that are just going to like increase your output and just going to, make you stronger. And two other things that I use. So caffeine, I've talked about caffeine before, but caffeine is like one of the only legal performance enhancers. If you use caffeine daily or if you never use caffeine, when you're doing speed workout, you should use more than typical. So if you don't use any, take 100 milligrams, maybe 150, maybe 200. If you're used to caffeine every day, like have coffee every day, people don't wave back to me on this road. They're getting very sad about that. Okay. Yeah, and then if you do drink coffee, maybe you just have an extra 100 to 150 to 200 milligrams of caffeine. It pretty much is just going to reduce perceived like pain, and it's going to give your body like a little bit of extra juice to go faster, go harder. And if you're not taking it, you're just going to miss out on that extra boost, which you want for these speed workouts. So definitely take caffeine. It's legal. Like, I don't know. Is anyone scared of taking caffeine long term? Like, people have been taking caffeine for decades, for centuries. Take caffeine. And then the other thing that I do is, like, any sort of cooling techniques that you can use. So, like, having cold water available to you. And then what I do, if I'm doing a workout inside, I'll bring an ice pack. And for me, what I found out works best, take a Ziploc bag, like a sandwich Ziploc bag, fill it with ice, and then just use that to like rub on your body. Yeah, actually, I do really rub it on my body at Planet Fitness. People think I'm crazy, but I use it so like in my rest intervals, if I'm doing like on the incline treadmill or the Stairmaster, I will take the ice pack, rub it on my head, rub it on my face, rub it on your hands, rub it on your arms, your legs, just to cool yourself down, to basically prepare yourself to go harder the next interval. Like, you're just going to be able to get more out of yourself. And I think it's really beneficial. Look up cooling. There's some crazy studies about like how cooling increases performance, because one of like the biggest limiters for physical performance is like your body's ability to cool itself down. That's why like sauna, heat training is so important. So if you can manually do that and it will increase your workouts, I think you should. So if you're doing an indoor workout, use ice. If you're going outdoors on like a track and you have access to ice or, whatever, I would do that too. It's just going to give those reps a little bit of extra juice. So that was the maximizing speed workout. Over this podcast, I'm definitely going to go into, like, there's a lot of topics that I want to talk about. I want to talk about different workouts that I do. I want to talk about different strategy. I'm trying to figure out, like, the best way. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit rambly or all over the place, but I want to really convey the information in a good way to you guys. And I'm just going to try to keep getting better at that. So, and if you have any questions, please, like, leave them in comments. Leave them in the comments wherever you listen to it. I'll try to get to them, address all of them. If there's any topics you want to hear, put them in there, and I'll get to all of them. But okay, so the next topic is the Mount Ascutney Vertical Backyard Race. So that is happening next weekend. Mount Ascutney in Vermont, Brownsville, Vermont. It's a last person standing race. I feel like these races are getting pretty popular. Like I said, typically they're 4 mile an hour races, but here each participant is going to ascend and descend 1,200 feet per hour until there's one person left. So 1,200 feet of climbing and descending each hour lap. And there's going to be 2 different options. So I think there is... Do they have it here? Yeah, there's one option where you do 3 laps of 400 feet, or you can do 1 big lap of 1,200 feet. That's kind of like an interesting topic. So there's going to be strategy in this race for sure. I think, one, like in these backyard standing races, they can just get like kind of monotonous and boring, and people kind of wear themselves out mentally. And I think just having different routes to do is very cool and very... I think it offers just like a good mix of things to kind of keep your spirits, up, and you can kind of, all right, I'm done with this lap, I'm going to do this other kind of loop this time. It can kind of like help with the mental game. So I think that's cool. But how do I think about it? Is it easier to go up and down 400 feet 3 times instead of up 1,200 feet once? I think for sure, yes. Like, I run at the Uncanunics a lot, which are like smaller mountains, and it is so much easier to do 3,000 feet when you go up and down 4 times as opposed to just going 3,000 feet straight up. I think it's just you get a little bit of break muscularly and aerobically when you're going downhill. So it kind of mixes it up, and I feel like it just deteriorates your leg muscles slower if you don't have as long ascents and descents. So I would assume that more people who are really going for long efforts are gonna do the 3 laps to kind of ease on their bodies. But maybe mentally that's harder though, and I feel like if you're not going super fast, yeah, maybe that is just like mentally too much. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Different people will take different routes here. So, and they have a little bit of info here. So if you do 5 laps, that is 6,288 feet, approximately the size of Mount Washington. If you do 12 laps, 14,500 feet, which is about Mount Whitney. If you do 24 laps, it's 29,000 feet. That's an Everest. So this is like an Everesting event. Pretty much Everesting is doing 29,000 feet of ascent and descent within 24 hours. So we'll see how long they go. This is going to be super fun to watch. So, okay, we want to get in the entrance, though. This is what I was saying. There are some sluggers in this race. So there are going to be Everest for sure. There's 75 people signed up. I'm sure like at least a handful, maybe a dozen, maybe a couple dozen will Everest. Maybe a couple. I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of Everest, though. So, I mean, this is just like the ultra sign up. I'm just going to go through some of the names. I'm going to miss some crushers, and we'll go through the results 2 weeks from now or next week or whenever they come out. But I'll just go on some of just the names that I see on here. So, I mean, first off, the top person looks like they've done one ultra race, Elijah Putnam. But it was a 12-hour race, so it was a long-distance race. So I'm sure he's going to be a crusher. He's only done one other race. So I feel like on Ultra Sign-Up, if people only have like 0 or a couple results, you never really know. They could be like crushers that just haven't done races yet. So we'll see. The second person, Leela Gadralt. Go look at her Ultra Sign-Up. She is 23-year-old. She has done so many races. She puts down so many miles. She wins most of the races. I think she just does insane mileage, so she's definitely a favorite. Peter Benito, I mean, he's done so many things. Absolute crusher. Amber Mosel, don't know her, but second-rated female. I'm sure she's gonna be tough. Seth Richardson, Lyle Cortez, Connor Brown, a couple people on Canunix guys. Brian SV, I'm pretty sure that's Brian SV on Strava. I think he almost took one of my crowns on Moosalok. And then Mia Buckingham. So she's doing Hellbender next year. She's a crazy last person standing. So she's won Bubba's. She's coming second at Bubba's. She's won Bubba's multiple times, 3 times maybe. Yeah, just an absolute crusher. So she's going to be one of the top people. Bill Tidd, the supported New Hampshire 4,000 footer. Tour de France top 50 this year. Bill Tidd's going to be out there. He is definitely in it to win it. Will Peterson, long trail unsupported, supported FKTs. Ever heard of it? I think those are top. There's 20 premier worldwide FKTs, and he has some. He's a long distance guy, through hiker, and I think he DNF'd Tour de France this year. I think actually to the sickness point. I think he got sick the week before the race. He DNF'd, and I'm sure he's got a lot to prove, and he's gonna go until he can't go yet. Ryan Joy, shout out. Amber Constant, she did the Whites one. She did the AT section of the Appalachian Trail, New Hampshire section of the Appalachian Trail this year. She got the overall FKT in that. She did a White Mountains 100 yo-yo. I don't even know who would want to do that. She puts down huge miles, so I'm sure she's going to have a good showing. Andrew Soraz, that dude does tons of miles, bunch of through hikes. Yeah, so this is going to be a stacked race. Some absolute some of the best long distance people out there. So this event could go on for a couple days. I wonder, what is my prediction on how long this event will go? I think did Bubba's go 2 days this year? I think when you throw in vertical gain, it gets harder to go for longer. Like your muscles just get absolutely destroyed. 1,200 feet though is not really a lot. I'm going to say the winner is going to go 38 hours. I want to say 36, but I'll say 38. So what's 38 times 1,200? 45,000 feet of climbing. That's my prediction on how long the farthest person is going to go at this race. But that'll be a cool event, and we'll definitely follow up when the results from that come in. All right, moving down the list here, we got 2 more things, both going to be fairly quick. So the motivational minute. All right, hold on, guys. I got to get a drink of water here. Okay, I'm back. I'm probably not going to cut that. I apologize. Okay, the motivation minute for the week. This one hit me pretty hard recently. I don't have like cable, so I watch YouTube a good amount. And my YouTube algorithm right now is just like half of my feed is just these like motivational, I don't know what you call them, like kind of videos, but they're just like motivational, like compilation videos. And one of the ones that hit me hard a few days ago was, this is the quote: "Everyone has 2 lives. The second starts when you realize you only have 1 life." And I think it's like maybe a little bit cheesy, maybe a little bit corny, but something hit so deep in me recently when I heard that. Like, I just turned 28, and I'm thinking like, I have 2 years of my 20s left. I only get 1 chance at my 20s, and this could go for if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, teens. You only have 1 life. This is it. You get no do-overs. Like, imagine all the things that you think back and you're like, I wish I could do that over. Like, I don't have any regrets, but there are things that like, wow, I had 1 crack and I kind of not whiffed, but I learned a lot, but I wish I did things different. That you only have 1 life. This is it. All you're going to get. If you have a dream, if you have something you want to do, you have to attack it like today. Like, your time is fleeting. You need to go after it and get it. No goal is too big. If you have super big goals, I think they're probably not big enough. Dream bigger and just go after it with all you have. Now, that doesn't mean quit your job, do all these things, but make sure that you have a plan to get what you want. If you have something you really want, you got to make a plan, and you got to be working towards it every day, every week. No more, I'm going to start after this. Oh, I can't do it because it's too risky. Like, imagine how risky it is if you go your whole life and you never take a chance on something you really wanted. Like, that is actually the ultimate risk. That is so much riskier than what you're perceiving as like some sort of thing that you'd be uncomfortable doing. So if you have a shot, if you got something, you got to go take it. And if you don't know what that is, like, I think a lot of the part of the battle is just understanding what you want in life, or like what you really want to go after. You got to figure that out, and once you figure that out, you have to take huge risks and go for it. And that quote really hit hard to me. If you have anything that you've been thinking about, or you want to pull the trigger, but you don't think because of this, that, or the other thing, I think that or the other thing is actually the bigger risk. As opposed to not doing them. Like, if you just keep going down the path you're going down, like, hey, maybe you got a good family, you got a good life, like, everything is good. That's awesome. Like, a lot of people love that. But if there was something that you really wanted to go for and you didn't, like, not going for it is actually the biggest risk. So, have a dream and go for it. And last thing in the podcast, my 2025 victory over the fruit flies. Like I said at the beginning of the beginning of the podcast, I live in like an older, like a brick, just old apartment building, and I moved into a new unit this year, but I've been in the same complex for a while. And I've just dealt with critters getting into my house. Now, luckily, it's not anything big, like I don't have mice or rats or anything, but lots of bugs get into my apartment. Some of them I make peace with, some of them I don't make peace with. Spiders. I make peace with spiders. Unless they're like super big and super scary near my head at night, I let them go because they kind of put the webs up and they get a bunch of other insects and stuff. But flies have been my nemesis. Now, at the old apartment, big flies always got in, and I hate big flies. Getting big flies stinks. But I haven't had this in the new apartment. The new apartment, and I will say this happened in both apartments, the fruit flies have been absolutely insane. I eat a ton of fruit. I get it. I have a bunch of bananas every week. I have apples, blueberry. Like, I have all the fruits. Some of it's, stored outside of the fridge. Like bananas, you have to. But if you're a scientist or a biologist and you're listening to this podcast, needle in a haystack, needle in 1,000 haystacks, but if you are listening and you want a new research project, the fruit flies in my apartment, whatever DNA they have, whatever strain of fruit fly this is the hardiest, most resilient, smartest fruit fly on planet Earth. You need to study them because you'll probably become rich. I cannot get them to go away. During the summer, I've tried every single thing. I've tried the little plug-in traps, the sticky traps that you plug with the light. I've tried like the actual like stick traps that don't have a light, that are just like whatever coating. I've tried the traps that you can get like from a manufacturer that with the little holes that they get in. I've tried DIY, like throwing apples in a bowl with vinegar or and poking holes with the little plastic to get them to go in. I've tried red wine in a bowl with the little holes in the plastic to get them to go in. I cannot capture these things and get rid of them during the summer. It is a horrible problem. And I don't know if, like, I feel like a lot of people say fruit flies are, like, annoying to have, but I don't know. I truly think that these fruit flies are next level tough, smart. They just don't go in the traps. And I just have crazy amounts of fruit flies flying around my bananas, my trash all summer. And honestly, I would prefer fruit flies over the big flies because the big flies, like, it takes a little bit to kill them. Like, the fruit flies, you can't really do anything about them. So I just kind of, like, they're just my roommates for the summer. But, yeah, it's something that I struggled with. I can't figure out how to get rid of them. And the way that gets rid of them is in like November when it starts to get cold for a long period of time. They finally die off. So the fruit flies have died off for the year. I have recaptured my household for myself. But yeah, it is brutal with these fruit flies. So I have about, I think maybe like, usually this spring they're not too bad. So I have about 6 months fruit fly free right now. So I'm very excited about that. I'm going to try to be thankful and not become too comfortable without the fruit flies because I know they're coming back. But yeah, the fruit flies have just been insane. And I mean, yeah, if you have any strategies, please let me know. But I really think that this strain of fruit fly is just built different. So, but oh well. They're gone for the year, and so I have won. And so I've been doing a little victory lap, doing a little bit of ha-ha with the fruit flies. And I will say, actually, the fruit flies are gone, but last week I had a little bit of a hornet incident. We have these hornets by the apartment that are just massive. And I looked at my slider door the other day, and there's like 10 of them just dead in the slider thing. I've killed a few of them that got into the house. I don't know really where they're getting in. Like, I assume that they're going to go away in the winter. But, yeah, I killed one the other day. It was probably this big. I was so frightened. I stunned it with my hat, and it wasn't fully dead. And I had to hit it again with the hat. And then I had to go get a rock and finish the job. And so, hi there. How's it going? Okay. Well, it's the end of the podcast anyway. Yeah, and so I took out this massive hornet, which I was legitimately scared to do the other day. But yeah, bugs just get in my apartment. And lucky for me, the winter I will be bug free. So that was a whole story I wanted to share there. So that's all I have for today. Those were the topics. I think we're about an hour here. Let's go. Yeah, that's all I got. So I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm gonna hit a speed workout probably Tuesday, and then hopefully my training is back on track. But we'll see how it goes. I'll do an update next week, and hopefully any of these tips that I talked about help you out. This is like the 6th season, so I feel like people are getting sick. So hopefully that's not you, but if it is, hopefully some of this stuff helped, and you can get back to training and get back to gains, running up mountains, running mountain peaks. That's the goal. All right. Till next time. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Hill Strides. We'll see you next time. Peace.